Continental Style, Spring/Summer 2026, the runway, the culture, the moment. A quiet shift. Spring and Summer 2026 did not announce itself with spectacle. Instead, the season unfolded with restraint. Measured silhouettes, deliberate construction, and a renewed sense of control across the global fashion capitals. New York, London, Milan, and Paris presented collections that felt less reactive and more resolved. This was not a season driven by shock or algorithmic urgency. It was a season of intentional fashion. In this episode of Continental Style, we examine Spring/Summer 2026 through three interconnected lenses: the runways themselves, their cultural reflection, and the role of celebrity as a translator between industry and public life. What emerged was not a trend cycle, but a recalibration, the return of authority on the runway. Across Spring/Summer 2026 collections, designers demonstrated a renewed commitment to authority in design. Garments were purposeful, silhouettes were controlled. Construction was visible, not as decoration, but as discipline. Tailoring reasserted itself, not in a corporate sense, but as a language of competence. Jackets carried structure without rigidity. Trousers followed the line of the body without excess. Dresses moved with composure rather than drama. The runways suggested a shift in consumer psychology, a desire for fashion that communicates stability, self-possession, and continuity. This was not nostalgia. It was recalibration. Uniform dressing as cultural signal. One of the most consistent runway narratives was the evolution of uniform dressing. Designers presented garments designed to be worn repeatedly, coordinated sets, modular silhouettes, and pieces that felt complete without embellishment. This approach reflects a broader cultural moment. As daily life becomes increasingly fragmented, fashion is responding with cohesion. The uniform is no longer about conformity, it is about clarity. Spring/Summer 2026 suggested that luxury is no longer defined by variety, but by precision and reliability. To wear the same silhouette again and again is no longer a limitation, it is a statement of confidence. Technical influence softened. Technical references, surf culture, scuba gear, performance wear, appeared across multiple collections, but they were not literal. Instead, designers absorbed the logic of technical garments, durability, adaptability, protection, and translated those ideas into refined forms. Neoprene-inspired materials became fluid dresses. Seam-sealed construction was repurposed for elegance. Performance textiles were cut with architectural discipline. The result was a form of technical elegance, clothing that acknowledges the realities of modern movement while maintaining aesthetic calm. This balance reflects a consumer who expects more from fashion. Beauty, yes, but also intelligence. Volume reconsidered. Volume has not disappeared from fashion, but in Spring/Summer 2026, it was carefully governed. Wide trousers were anchored by precise tailoring. Sculptural skirts were paired with disciplined bodices. Expansion existed, but always in dialogue with control. This restraint signaled maturity. Rather than overwhelming the wearer, volume was used to enhance presence. The runway message was subtle but clear. Drama is most powerful when it is measured. Texture as emotional language. Texture became one of the most sophisticated storytelling tools of the season. Crinkled fabrics, pleated surfaces, matte finishes, and tactile contrasts replaced overt prints and loud graphics. These garments were designed to reward proximity, to be understood through wear, not just visual consumption. This emphasis on texture aligns with a cultural shift toward sensory richness over instant impact. Spring/Summer 2026 favored garments that unfold slowly, pieces that gain meaning over time. Cultural translation through celebrity. While the runways set the intellectual framework, celebrity appearances provided cultural translation. When figures such as Dua Lipa appeared in Spring/Summer 2026 looks, the effect was not simply visibility, it was validation. These moments demonstrated how runway concepts migrate into lived culture. According to Harper's Bazaar, celebrity adoption of SS26 designs reinforced key themes of the season: controlled sensuality, strategic transparency, and composure rather than excess. Similarly, red carpet appearances featuring Diotima's Spring 2026 ready-to-wear brought attention to texture and surface as narrative devices. These moments echoed what had already been established on the runway, demonstrating continuity rather than contradiction. Celebrity, in this context, functioned not as spectacle, but as confirmation. The clothes were held up outside the runway environment. The ideas were translated. Color as restraint, not ornament. Color in spring/summer. 2026 was deliberate. Neutral foundations dominated, punctuated by precise injections of intensity. When bold hues appeared, they were purposeful, never decorative. This approach reflects a broader luxury mindset. Color is most powerful when it is used sparingly. The runways suggested confidence without insistence. A season of composure, spring and summer. 2026 will be remembered not for disruption, but for composure. It was a season where fashion chose clarity over noise, discipline over excess, and longevity over immediacy. Through the runway, through culture, and through selective celebrity translation, the message was consistent. Fashion is not retreating, it is refining. This has been Continental style. One of the most defining developments in women's fashion right now is the evolution of sheer dressing. Not as provocation, not as spectacle, but as control. What emerged across recent runways was a refined approach to transparency, one that prioritizes structure, layering, and intention over exposure. Sheer elements are no longer the statement, they are the instrument. 3 designers, in particular, illustrate how this shift is taking shape. At Ferragamo, transparency was used as a structural accent rather than a focal point. Sheer panels appeared within tailored silhouettes, integrated into dresses and separates with architectural discipline. The effect was restrained sensuality. The body was suggested, not displayed. This approach positioned sheerness as an extension of craftsmanship rather than ornamentation. At Diotima, Spring 2026, ready-to-wear demonstrated how texture and transparency can carry emotional weight. Delicate, sheer fabrics were layered with tactile surfaces, creating garments that felt intimate without being fragile. As highlighted in Harper's Bazaar, Diotima's red carpet appearances reinforced this narrative, showing how controlled transparency translates beyond the runway and into cultural visibility. And at Saint Laurent, sheer dressing was treated as an exercise in authority. Transparency was paired with strong shoulders, elongated lines, and deliberate proportions. The contrast was intentional. Softness existed, but it was governed. This was not vulnerability, it was confidence expressed quietly. Together, these examples reveal the true nature of the trend. Refined sheer dressing is not about revealing the body. It is about framing it. It reflects a broader movement in women's fashion toward composure, where sensuality is present but never urgent, where elegance is measured, and control is the ultimate luxury. For Continental style, this trend matters because it aligns with the season's larger message. Fashion is no longer interested in excess visibility. It is interested in precision. Sheer now is not about what is shown. It is about what is understood. Another defining shift in women's fashion is the rise of soft tailoring. This is not the return of rigid suiting. It is tailoring reimagined for movement, comfort, and quiet authority. Across recent collections, designers softened traditional structures without abandoning discipline. Jackets were unlined or lightly constructed. Trousers followed the body rather than imposing shape upon it. Waistlines relaxed, while proportions remained intentional. The result was clothing that communicates competence without constraint. Soft tailoring reflects a deeper cultural adjustment. Women's fashion is no longer interested in borrowing power from menswear. It is defining power on its own terms, through ease, balance, and control. This trend aligns with the broader Spring and Summer 2026 runway message. Elegance no longer needs armor. It needs confidence. Soft tailoring does not announce itself. It supports the wearer. And in that restraint, it becomes quietly authoritative. Texture-led minimalism. Alongside silhouette and tailoring, texture-led minimalism has emerged as one of the most sophisticated developments in women's fashion. At first glance, these garments appear simple. On closer inspection, they reveal depth. Designers are stripping away overt decoration and allowing fabric surface to carry meaning. Matte against sheen, crinkled against smooth, weight against lightness. Texture becomes the narrative. This approach signals a shift away from visual noise and towards sensory intelligence. These are clothes designed to be felt, not just seen. Pieces that reward time, touch, and proximity. Texture-led minimalism reflects a consumer who values subtlety. Someone fluent enough in fashion to recognize refinement without explanation. For Continental style, this trend matters because it represents maturity. Fashion no longer needs to persuade loudly. It trusts the observer. Minimalism, in this context, is not absence. It is concentration.